Gotta make up my mind, which seat can I take? It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Heads up, 20-ups. Lucy, I'm the only one who should be singing that song, because yesterday was Thursday, today is Friday, tomorrow is Saturday, and Sunday comes afterward. Let's get this started. Ginz, you said you would never be able to pull off a one-take video, and I'm pretty much the same way. When I start talking about things in my videos, I have a small list on my computer screen right here that I look at, and then I form the idea in my head, and I try to speak it. So I end up saying what I want to say about 10 times before I finally get it right, and I have a ton of bloopers. And as for a book recommendation theme, I think that's a great idea. There are a couple books I'd like to recommend. When you were giving your answer to TJ's question, you had mentioned that people are complex. It's a great thing to think about, how complex people are, how complex you are. And you're right, it's like an iceberg. Our introductions were the very tip, and there's so much more to the iceberg than the tip, even though that's all we know right now. Danielle, you would ask me if I can actually play all of my instruments. Right now it's not really a good time to play the drums, but I can play them pretty decently. Guitar's my main instrument, and I play it all the time. I pick it up every single day, and just a good 90% of my songs are written on guitar. I bought this ukulele just over a year ago, and I can play it decently. I'm not the best at it, but I have written a couple songs on here, and I can cover a couple of songs too. I don't know if anybody knows the game Splosion Man, but that was pretty much the whole reason I bought a ukulele, so I could play the Donuts Go Nuts song. Everybody loves donuts, Lord knows I do. Everybody loves donuts, so let's see just one or two. The banjo I had gotten like 3 years ago maybe, but I hadn't really picked it up until about 4 months before I got my ukulele, which isn't really that long ago. And the trombone, which I can't actually play. I have the trombone, so I can take the time to practice to learn it. I taught myself how to play every instrument that I play except for the piano, which I've taken lessons for several years between when I was in 2nd grade and 5th grade. The trombone I played in 4th grade for about half of the year during band, when my teacher asked me to switch from the trombone to the baritone horn, because there were no baritone horns in our band class. So I don't actually know how to play the trombone all that well. I know several notes, and that's pretty much it. All these instruments are very expensive, and my parents got them for me anyway, because they're awesome parents. They wanted me and my brother to have life experiences. They wanted us to be kids when we were kids. There were so many places they took us when we were kids, so many trips, so many awesome memories. When I was a kid, for the longest time, I always thought that we were the rich family because my parents would get us anything that we ever wanted. But after growing up, I realized, hey, we aren't that rich. We were just an average family. I just had parents who loved having happy kids. I do like music theory. I think music theory is a beautiful thing. But my problem is school. I don't like classes. I'm not that great of a student. I won't sit down and actually study. Having to take classes for music theory would mean I'd have to sit down, study, and force myself to learn it. And I don't want to do that because it would take away the beauty of it for me. You said you do a lot of geeky things, like the Vulcan sign to play bass, during your music lessons, and that is awesome, because that just means you're a great teacher. Last semester, my English teacher was pretty much the exact same way. We would talk about really obscure movie references, we would talk about Star Trek, we would talk about zombie apocalypses, It's awesome. And she incorporated these into every single lesson she taught, and it made English that much more fun. And everyone in the class got really good grades because she did such a good job. So, keep up the awesome work. Rima, in the beginning of your video, you said that it was a bit late, and in my opinion, it wasn't all that late. You had mentioned that you knew the flute, but you had forgotten it, and if you just pick it up and mess around with it for like 10 minutes every day, you'll probably pick it up again really quickly. The only reason I haven't relearned trombone yet is because I procrastinate, and I haven't picked it up in, I don't know, I'd say 2 months. You had mentioned that with your 20 cats, you like to pretend you were a cat. I also liked pretending to be animals, but I've never pretended to be a cat. I always pretended to be a dolphin. When I was maybe 9 years old, around there, my mom took me and my brother out to Boston to go to a wildlife museum, and there were penguins and dolphins there, and when we got home that night, it was close to 9 o'clock at night, but it was the middle of summer, and the pool was nice and warm, so me and my brother jumped in the pool and pretended we were dolphins for the rest of the night. You would also ask the question, what Hogwarts house is everyone in? For the longest time, after reading all of the personality traits of each house, I was always on the border between Hufflepuff and Slytherin. But a couple of days ago, my friends had raised the question in the cafeteria, so I went online and I took one of those little quiz things to tell you which house you belong to, and the result came up Hufflepuff, so I guess I'm a Hufflepuff. Lucy, your mom is awesome because she knows Klingon. I don't know anyone who knows Klingon. And you had also mentioned that your sister had turned 15 yesterday. My cousin turned 14 yesterday as well. All I really have to say to that is that they're gonna have the best 21st birthdays ever. And whenever I'm driving, I always have trouble with left and right. Recently, I've come to realize that when you're turning, if you're crossing the lane of traffic, you're going left. If you're not crossing a lane of traffic, you're going right. Because the left-right hand thing doesn't work for me, because if you flip it the other way, it just flips it around and your right hand becomes the left, and it doesn't work for me. Whenever I'd go on road trips with my friends and I was driving, they would always have to say, turn driver side or turn passenger side, so I'd go the right direction. TJ, the misconception that everybody had about you liking jazz so much simply came around because of your elaborate introduction to your first video, where you went through all the vinyl records and finally pulled out the jazz one. And the way I'm thinking about it, it ties sort of into the question you asked everybody, asking why everybody holds on to an outdated version of someone. And lastly, I'm getting to the outdated version of people. I thought it was really interesting how, for one idea, everyone had a different answer. Danielle had talked about how we imagine everyone in it as a generalization for a group of what they want to be. And Ginz talked about how there was a fear of change and how you don't want the idea of someone to change. Rima had gone on about how her parents wanted her to dream big, but not dream on one line and to have multiple options. And Lucy looked at the whole thing from a parental point of view, where she's the parent and she doesn't want her kid to change because there's only a limited time she can spend with her kids. Those are a lot of different viewpoints for one small idea. That was awesome how nobody had the exact same answer. Throughout the week when I was thinking about it, my opinion about it lines up a lot closer to what Ginz was saying, so I'm going to build off of that a little bit. When you first meet someone, you have that initial connection where you have several things in common and you become friends. As your friendship grows older, you might stop liking some of those things, or your friend might stop liking some of those things, so you have less things actually in common. but you still feel like you have those things in common because you both liked them at one point before. So it's that ignorance, it's that bliss that you're friends with this person because you have all these things in common and you don't want to lose that friendship, so you pretend that they still like it, or you pretend that you still like it, so they'll still be your friend. It's kind of one of those things. And with the jazz misconception that you said, since you made it prominent in the very beginning of your first video on this channel, we had all jumped straight to the conclusion that you liked jazz, so we were all trying to relate ourselves to your interest in jazz music. That's how things get misconstrued a little bit. Okay, before I end this, I just wanted to ask another question. Hopefully a question that'll get us to all know each other a bit more. The question is, what is one of your greatest memories from when you were a little kid? When I was 4 years old, I ended up in the hospital with mono, and I was in the hospital for about a month and a half. I missed the entire first month of kindergarten too. I was also in there for my 5th birthday. My dad's boss sent me this bear, a balloon that said "Get well soon," and a bag of peanuts. And when I was a little kid, I had a super active imagination, so I would sit in the chair with my teddy bear, eating the peanuts and sharing them with him. So, since to me he loved the peanuts, I named him Peanut. Throughout kindergarten and 1st grade, he was my best friend. I would dress him up just like this, and I would take him to school with me. I'd have my parents set a place for him at the dinner table, and he was my best friend, and that is one of my favorite childhood memories. So, what are some of yours? TJ, I'll see you on Sunday.